Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. When building Canvas apps in Power Apps, you go to Gallery to display records from your data source, and Forms to view, create, and edit an individual record. But sometimes forms are not enough. In those scenarios, Power Apps has functions for updating your tabular data sources directly. One of those functions is Collect. The Collect function adds records to a data source. The items to be added can be a single value. The value is placed in the value field of a new record. All other properties are left blank. A record. Each named property is placed in the corresponding property of a new record. All other properties are left blank. A table. Each record of the table is added as a separate record of the data source as described above. The table isn't added as a nested table to a record. To do this, wrap the table in a record first. When used with a collection, additional columns will be created as needed. The columns for other data sources are fixed by the data source and new columns can't be added. If the data source doesn't already exist, a collection is created. Collections are sometimes used to hold global variables or make a temporary copy of a data source. See here the collect function syntax. Here is an example of me using this function. The ClearCollect function is similar to the collect function. The ClearCollect function deletes all records from a collection, and then adds a different set of records to the same collection. With a single function, ClearCollect offers the combination of clear and then collect. ClearCollect returns the modified collection as a table. ClearCollect can only be used in a behavior formula. This is the syntax for the ClearCollect function. And here is an example of me using the ClearCollect function. Another formula that can be used with collections is the clear function. The clear function deletes all the records of a collection. The columns of the collection will remain. Note that the clear only operates on collections and not other data sources. You can use RemoveIf for this purpose. Use caution as this will remove all records from the data source's storage and can affect other users. You can use the remove function to selectively remove records. Clear has no return value. It can only be used in a behavior formula. The syntax for the clear function is simple. And here's an example of me using the clear function. Another important function in Power Apps is the patch function. This function modifies or creates one or more records in a data source, or merges records outside of a data source. Use the patch function to modify records in complex situations, such as when you do updates that require no user interaction, or forms that span multiple screens. Here is the syntax for the patch function. And here is an example of me creating a single record in a data source. Patch can also be used to create or modify multiple records with a single call. Instead of passing a single base record, a table of base records can be provided in the second argument. Change records are provided in a table as well, corresponding one for one with the base records. The number of records in each change table must be the same as the number of records in the base table. When using the patch in this manner, the return value is also a table with each record corresponding one for one with the base and change records. Here is the syntax for modifying or creating a set of records in a data source. Here is an example of me modifying multiple records with a single patch call. You can also merge records outside of a data source. You need to specify two or more records that you want to merge. Records are processed in order from the beginning of the argument list to the end, with later property values overriding earlier ones. Batch returns the merged record and doesn't modify its arguments or records in any data source. Here is the syntax for merging records. And here is an example of me merging records with the batch function. Remove is another function. Use the remove function to remove a specific record or records from a data source. For collections, the entire record must match. You can use the remove flags.all argument to remove all copies of a record. Otherwise, only one copy of the record is removed. Here is the syntax for the remove function. One example removes the record, another example removes the table of records. Here is an example of me removing one record from my collection. RemoveIf is another function. Use the RemoveIf function to remove a record or records based on a condition or a set of conditions. Each condition can be any formula that results in a true or false and can reference columns of the data source by name. Each condition is evaluated individually for each record, and the record is removed if all conditions evaluated are true. Remove and RemoveIf return the modified data source as a table. You can use both functions only in behavior formulas. You can also use the clear function to remove all of the records in a collection. Here is the syntax for the RemoveIf function. Here is an example of me using the RemoveIf function. Thanks for watching. Check out the other videos on my channel if you haven't already.